All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Wildin Out. My name is Dr. Fish. Am your op, and I will also be your host for this evening. As Marty B unfortunately isn't feeling very well. We will miss him. Hopefully, he'll be back next week. But with me this week, we have Sunday and Seth. So, hello, fellas. How's it going?
It's going good. Marty was perishing, so he chose Lost Walter to come on the show. So hello.
Hello, and Seth. How
Can
are
you really
you?
be washed if you quit? I'm good. Thanks for asking.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, chat is being brutal already. You'll love to see it. Um. All right, so we have quite a bit to get through. So in order to get going, we're gonna start off with our player of the week. So Seth, would you like to talk about who won player of the week?
Yeah. So our player of the week is Hyperin, and Hyperin won this week because as the list of undefeated players is dwindling, last week two of them faced off, Triple Lift and Hyperin, and the still undefeated Hyperin beat Triple Lift 3-2. He clinched his win with Triple Lift's one true weakness, Ping Mage. Unfortunately, as we'll see later on, South Sea Legend still couldn't get the win, but Hybrin continues to lead really big in that one seed, staying undefeated. So congrats to him.
Yep, and congrats to Hyperin on winning player of the week.
Well
Uh,
done, Hyperin.
yeah. So let's go ahead and quickly go over, I guess, Marty B's stats corner. We're gonna go over the classes for the last week. So we saw an uptick in a bunch of classes, notably Paladin and Priest got a decent chunk of extra brings as well as Warlock. Um, and Warrior saw a pretty good drop. There was 9 less Warriors, 15 more Warlocks, 3-4 more Paladins. Mage had less ignites brought. Rogue what with less classes still has a bit of jank, I guess. Marty calls it jank, being brought. But overall, the most popular classes, Hunter's always super popular. Warlock, Mage, Shaman, and Warrior are kind of like the classes a lot of people are bringing. And then for Paladin, Aggro Paladin seems to be pretty popular. And so yeah, that's you can see on the screen here the classes that were brought and the decks. Yeah, Hunter a couple expansions ago was Hunter Keck W, and now it's the most brought class every week.
One
Um,
thing I will also
yeah,
say, I mean, you kind of see in Mage as well, like the power of the APM kind of decks. Like you see a lot of Wakers and Ignites being brought. They tend to be very good right now, especially in the meta, since they're so fast. They can beat some aggro too. So I would expect to see more of those brought as the season continues on. That's
Y-
for sure.
yeah, I definitely agree with that. I don't see Ignite or Waker really going anywhere. Um, so yeah, why don't we go ahead? We have a couple of out of these, we have a couple of decks to talk about. So why don't we go ahead and look at our featured decks for the week? I'm just gonna quickly swap this over. The first deck we have in Sunday, would you mind going over Copperhunter? A,
I
a,
would love to go over Copperhunter.
a much requested deck from last week.
Oh yeah, so Copperhunter. This has been a deck that's been around for a bit. It saw some new improvements with Stormwind Piper, Defias Blastfisher, kind of like pushing it up to make being like one of the better kind of aggro decks from Hunter, and gives you a viable option besides like your even hunters and your odd hunters. But basic gist is go wide and then smack them with Stormwind Piper, buff up your beasts, or Defias Blastfisher to kind of just finish them. But no, this deck is super solid. It saw a lot of experimentation. Like originally when the Buzzard was buffed, saw a lot of experimentation from like Corb and then Copper as well. And now it's kind of like it's gotten its legs. It's going.
For sure. So this deck last week was brought by Nops and Lasagna. Um, Yeah, shout outs to them. I would guess both of them won with it. At least somebody won on it last week, which is why it's being featured.
One thing I will say as well, Mr. Luke, I know for
Yeah,
sure
and
brought it this week.
Mr. Luke has it this week. Yeah.
Yeah, looks like they both won with it.
Fantastic. We have our second featured deck. So I guess speaking of classes that are bad or just underrepresented, we have our second deck. So Seth, why don't you talk to us about White Delight and his aggro demon hunter?
White Delight's on the train of single-handedly reviving dead classes, I guess. Because if you put in enough tech cards, anything can work. So this aggro DH has all the really strong, 1-2 drops to help you tempo out, like Battle Fiend and Battle Worn Vanguard. And it helps you get on the board early, and it helps you swarm a little bit, and it tops out a Kurtrus to take advantage of all those tokens. You can combine that with Spellfire Deadeye to squeeze a ton of damage out of that hero power. And then you've got some extra cards like Glide to help you both refill and disrupt opponents. Living Dragon Breath to try and counteract Shaman. Robes of Protection to help against Odd Hunter. And Rekthar as kind of a turn 4 bomb to help you get even more stats on the board. So it got a win this week. And apparently it was pretty spectacular. So shout out to White Delight for always innovating.
Yeah, I know White Delight's in the chat here. So congratulations, and Nops is in chat as well. So congratulations to both of you on getting wins with your decks this week. And we're always happy to feature these kind of off the beaten trail decks every week. Just to give some recognition. And from here, we've got matches to talk about. We've got 3 fantastic matches to go through. I'm gonna go ahead and transition over. So for our first match, and I figure since this is my team, I'll talk about the match. So the week started off, I believe, with the first 3 matches were lost. We had an Abinator losing 3-1 to Swagwar, Jailstorm losing 3-2 to Pokeniner, and Reverb losing 3-2 to Duocat, which left Mr. Python and myself 12-5 in points, having to 3-1 and sweep to tie the week, or double sweep to win. And Mr. Python did his job. He got the 3-1 over OT so huge win to get over OTZ. And then I was up 2-0 against Ogre, and my Ignite Mage failed to get a win for 3 games, but finally got there in game 5. So a much deserved win for Team at Any Cost Wild over Bash Bros this week. Really hard fought.
Yeah. One thing I will sorry.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
One thing I will say, the Team at Any Cost was one kind of team I was like, they're coming in. This is all like mainly first timer people.
Yeah.
With the exception of Duocat. They're making noise. This team is actually like stupid strong. We knew Otz was going to be really good. But I wasn't really expecting everyone else to kind of pick up the weight that they have. King Ogre is having a very solid season so far. Swagwar, Duocat, Pokeniners 1 and 2, but I'm not worried about him in the slightest. I think he'll pick it up. But no, this team is like they're making their noise. They're doing what they need to, which is like, especially in a series that's like this stacked, you have a lot of like the top wild players playing in it. Like, they're making noise. Good job for you guys.
Yeah, great job for them. For sure. So we have our next match, and speaking of hosts talking about their team's matches, Seth, I know this might be some fresh wounds, unfortunately, but would you kindly go through Rumble Tusk Shakers versus Hair Club?
Yeah, so just like in last season's semifinals, we got matched up against Hair Club. And we've been looking forward to this week to, try and take some revenge. But it didn't quite pan out. We took losses across the board, excluding myself. Both Tiger Eye and EPT Hopper went 1-3, and then Rice Bowl and Glare went 2-3. It's just, it can always go either way when you're playing teams as good as Hair Club. And we definitely put out our best effort, but sometimes you just can't win. You just don't get the roll you need, or your opponents really get the roll they need. And that's all right. They were prepared for us, and they played really well. So congrats to them. Giving us our first loss of the season.
Definitely. And I mean, both of these teams, I guess we can also, we'll look at the standings after the next match. But we definitely have a tight race across the board this season. And I mean, this is an outstanding match. Like this is definitely a playoff, like two playoff teams in my opinion that are gonna see each other potentially again when we get there. And it went to Hair Club this time. But next time you guys can come out firing and if that third time's a charm, hopefully. And we have one more match to talk about. I know that. We have Tagger fans versus South Sea Legends, and so Sunday, why don't you go ahead and talk about this one?
I would love to talk about which noob lost to Hero Power Mage. So this week was closer than expected. I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. We see the DQ in the 4 seed from Shmoopy, so that kind of got things off on a rough start. But Tagger fans kind of pulled it through, and they got 3 of 4 wins, and that was enough to get them over South Sea Legends by 1 point, which is pretty important. As I said, which noob lost to Hero Power Mage? Well, that'd be Triple Lift, who lost to our Player of the Week Hyperin, losing 2-3. Hyperin improving to 3-0, which is really good.
Sinferno just didn't.
Oh, there was
commit
no ban
ban.
form.
Okay,
Huh.
I
Okay,
thought
so that was a sweep.
that makes sense. Okay, that makes a lot more sense than Schmoopy DQing.
Okay, so this is actually a lot closer than expected. Nin City and Righteous and Enemies both losing to Lasagna and Nops, 3-1 and then 3-2. Lasagna and Nops also both brought that Copperhunter deck, so might be a deck to keep your eyes out for. Shmoopy ended up getting swept by Sinferno, and then Kenray was able to get his first win of the season over Blue Thingies to kind of solidify it. So, but yeah, very close week by both teams. But yeah.
Oh, I see. Shmoopy was going for a hard ignite, going for a ignite target, and it ended up winning against an even hunter, which is actually I played that match, but that can be miserable for ignite.
Yeah, that's the big thing with from what I've done with hard target lineups, you gotta be super confident.
Yeah.
In the decks that you want to bring, because
I agree.
in the past, I rarely brought hard counter lineups against my opponents. I didn't want to do it. I'll bring decks that are just solid into what they have. I'm never really bringing a hard counter lineup. I think there's been exceptions where it's if I see someone's brought the same decks several weeks in a row repeating. 1 week I brought 4 of the whatchamacallits. It's the line cracker tech. I can't remember the card name.
Or plate breakers.
Plate breaker.
I brought plate breaker in every deck. And 3, I think 3-0 or 3-1 or something. I let another.
You'd be proud of me. I put plate breaker in my decks this week.
My man, K-Kona. But it's it's really hard to win with a hard counter. And this also I'll talk about in playoffs last season. Meowth tried to hard counter me with it was something. I think it was playoffs, but Meowth tried to hard counter me on Odd Hunter, and Odd Hunter got a breakthrough win, and I won. I think I 3-0'd or 3-1.
Yeah.
But he tried to hard counter, it just did not work. So that's the big thing. Don't try too hard with hard counter lineups because they will just bring decks that might be good. Don't try to get fancy with text. That's my wonderful word of advice. to all of you young, hip THLers.
Yeah, and really good advice it is. Like hard target lineups are extremely hard to pull off.
Yeah.
Because I mean, unless like you're sitting with minutes left and they haven't submitted their lineup and you know what they have. Like
You got to be super
you
confident.
have to be
You got to be
confident
super, super.
even then, yeah, for sure.
This is also why you never roll over, Keck.
Definitely, yeah. Word of advice always, even if you're bringing the same exact 4 decks, 120 out of 120, submit because your opponent can mind game themselves. So yeah, that's our matches over. I guess if we look at our standings, I'll kind of make them a little bit bigger here on the screen. We have Viridian at the top, F12 Viridian sitting. They were sitting 7 points ahead of Rumble Tusk Shakers, who have 1 point this week. Then we have Shakers. Everyone's a winner. Hair Club, Tiger Fans, at any cost Wild. Kind of like a big conglomerate of teams. And then after 30 Worries, I'd say it kind of drops a little bit. I think there's like definitely, even with the middle, there's probably a little bit of a tier between the top 4 and then the next 4, like in experience, and like I say maybe in player experience and just overall being a team. Because those 4 teams, F2L, Rumble Tusk, Everyone's a Winner, and Hair Club, they've been together for the most part for like 3 or more seasons. So
Yep.
definitely. And then South Sea APM really struggling this season, kind of surprising. Hog Merchants also a bit surprising, and then Wild THL Fanatics. Man, I really want to see them get a win at some point.
Yeah, hopefully they will, but it's probably
tough.
not this week.
Yeah. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get into our preview matches and games. So I guess speaking of, as you know, we're gonna get to that second actually. So our first match that we have is Dirty Wordy Poggy Woggies 2 versus the Pog Merchants. We see all of their classes between the players. We have 9 Eyebrows versus Rin, Havin M versus Mortal Wombat, NJO versus Pace, Copa versus Cherub, and Turtle versus Excalibrine. Nothing in particular sticks out to me. There's a couple of Frog Shaman. I've seen like Frog Shaman be kind of popular. We see Mage brought in 7 from 7 out of 10 players, so very popular deck in classes across the class and decks across the board. A lot of Painlock actually. I know Warlock has had like many different what is it?
Iterations.
Archetypes. Yeah. And so people got a lot of Pain Warlock, which is kind of like giants, like Dark Glare. So I mean, pretty interesting matchup overall. Turdy Wordies has like 1-1-1. They're kind of right in the middle. They're kind of right in the middle of the second pack of teams, and Pog Merchant struggling. So hopefully we can see a good week between them.
Yeah, I'm seeing sorry.
No, go ahead.
So we're seeing I'm seeing a lot of like with Turdy Worries in particular, they're foregoing the Odd Hunters and they're foregoing Ignites a lot. So it's kind of interesting to see how their decks. I mean, they also brought 2 Pillagers and a Kingspan too, so they kind of have some like other stuff too. But like, I still think like at least seeing kind of the decks, and kind of the spread, I would say Pog Merchant's probably a little better off here, but just kind of basing off of lineups and decks right now.
Yeah.
Like you see, like with a lot of them, there's triple combo or like combo 2 combo anti-aggro and then like a pirate warrior. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
Definitely. Sure we do, and we have out of one of them we have a specific matchup to go over. We have Copa versus Cherub. So Copa with his Cthulhu Druid, Pillager Rogue, Frog Shaman, and Pirate Warrior. And the Pirate Warrior teched with the Loetheb for Odd Hunter. And just general and Ignite, just decks that really want to play spells at a very specific point, and Loetheb's very good at kind of stopping them. And from Cherub, we have Odd Hunter, Ignite Mage, what looks like a free shaman and inner fire priest. So kind of have. I mean, it's interesting. There's two combos from Copa, and there's looks like I call out Hunter a combo deck. There's three combo decks plus free shaman, which is anti aggro. Um, it's an interesting matchup between these two players. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. What do you guys think of this particular kind of matchup?
Yeah, not really. I'm interested in seeing how the Pirate Warrior's gonna do because this doesn't seem like it's gonna have a fun time, especially when you have Odd Hunter
Yeah,
and the Freeze Shaman there, and then you have Mage with double Ice Block. They're gonna be able to stall for a couple turns before you go off, or you're able to kill them.
yeah.
I'm not sure how the Inner Fire Priest works. I haven't played that deck in years.
Uh,
I'm not sure how it is into the aggro. I'd assume it's probably not great into like
Yeah.
Pirate Warrior and stuff.
It's considered one of the best Pirate Warrior counters.
Oh, it is.
Dead serious.
All right,
Yeah.
then I don't forget what I said. I'm washed Walter. Then yeah, I would say like, the Pirate Warrior here is gonna struggle. That's gonna be the one concern, unless he gets really lucky and like if Copa gets Lotheb like consistently.
Yeah,
That's gonna
I
be
can see
that's
that.
gonna be the problem deck. Everything else seems fine to me.
Yeah,
Um, the Druid might not actually get there, depending on how Charp's Ignite Mage is and how he plays that.
yeah. It does depend on ban as well, because the druid. I mean, the only deck that really doesn't want to see the druid is probably the priest and the hunter out of Charup. I mean, because you can play against it. Oh wait, Owl says it's more of a miracle
It is.
priest.
Miracle.
I don't know.
I mean, it still has. It's
It
not
doesn't.
like OG Innerfire, but
Yeah,
it's got its like. I mean, it's gonna do
it's
its
bless.
thing.
It's running bless over inner fire. Is what it looks like it's doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this will be a tough week for Copa. I mean, this is
yeah.
a really great matchup for him. Not a great spread he was looking for, so.
Agreed.
But we'll see.
Yeah,
We will see.
definitely. We have another match to go over, and speaking of everyone's a winner, Sunday got your team's match
Wow,
up here on the
actually
docket.
I get to talk about my team.
You
Oh my
do.
goodness. All right, so this week we are facing Wild THL Fanatics. We got Mr. Luke, who is subbing in for Tom this week as Tom is taking a break, versus Bitbeaker. We have Hazer versus Labore, Jordan versus Kyrex, Battle Tagger versus Slod, and 6J versus Gumby. Um, you heard me talking earlier about kind of like the power of Ignite and Waker Mage, and yeah, our whole team brought it this week.
Mm-hmm.
Five APM mages. You got four odd hunters on both sides too.
Yeah.
On the other side, you also have three Ignite mages. So we kind of went a little more combo heavy this week. You can see two Linecracker druids as well. I mean, I honestly can't remember how matchups go. Oh yeah, we got a Pillager Rogue too. I almost forgot.
Yeah.
From Luke. But other than that, it should be a good week. There's a couple interesting decks on Wild THL Fanatics side I want to kind of talk about. Reno Demon Hunter
Mm-hmm.
is very interesting. We'll actually talk about that here in a second. Then we also have the Reno Handbuff Paladin coming in from Slod into Battle Tagger's lineup.
Oh yeah, I see that. Reno
Which is
hand
going to be
buff.
that matchup's going to be very interesting to see. But
Yeah.
yeah. So speaking of Reno Demon Hunter, let's bring that matchup up
Of course.
because it's going to be very interesting to say
Mhm.
the least. So we have Mr. Luke versus Bitbeaker. Mr. Luke bringing Pillager Rogue, Cute Lock, Ignite Mage, and Copperhunter. Then Bitbeaker bringing Reno Shaman, Odd Hunter, Pirate Warrior with no significant text, and then Reno Demon Hunter, which I have not
Yeah.
seen
I had to.
in a minute.
Yeah, I think the last time I saw Reno Demon Hunter was when I e-subbed for a player who brought Reno Demon Hunter. back 2 seasons ago.
Yeah,
So
that would that is
yeah,
gonna be like if I was Bitbeaker, that'd be the deck I'd be worrying the most about getting in because Mr. Luke's got 2 combo decks.
yeah,
Cute Lock, which gets out on the board like insanely quick, and then you also have Copperhunter, which can also get out really quick.
yeah.
Um,
I agree with that.
like that's gonna be the deck that's gonna have the problem. Everything else should be okay. Pirate Warrior's gonna kinda have a tough time too. But it
Yeah,
should be fine until like the Rogue. But everything else on at least on Bitbeaker's side, it's gonna be rough. Cold Light Oracle's an interesting inclusion in the Odd Hunters. I personally, when I played, I really didn't like that card. I thought it was a throw because you're giving your opponent too much advantage more than you are
yeah,
getting yourself. And in a deck like you're trying to beat aggro, you're giving them 2 extra draws. Like it's not great, and you don't really need the draw in the late games too. Um, on Luke's side, it's going to be interesting to get the, the Copper Hunter through. Pirate Warrior is going to be tricky. Odd Hunter is just going to kind of, with power shot, stuff like that's probably going to eat through. But I'd still say, like, bias aside, I'd still say Luke is going to be somewhat favored in this. The
yeah,
Reno Shaman is over Freeze Shaman's interesting. I would have preferred to probably see 2 Dirty Rats. Um,
yeah. The light version.
Hyper and Ops, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying it's going to be harder for Copper Hunter to get through Pirate Warrior and Odd Hunter.
Yeah,
It'll have to get through like the Demon Hunter. It'll have to be fast. That's the thing. Like the Copper
yeah.
Hunter has to be quick. But even then, I still think Luke is probably favored in somewhat.
Oh, they're saying that you're
Somewhat.
wrong. I don't
I'm
know.
wrong. Well, I have not played in 3 months, so I probably am.
Like my first
So
instinct would be that Pirate Warrior is a deck that tends to do really well into aggro
yeah, that
because
tends
it
to
just
be the
clears board and
anti-aggro
it
kind of.
gets the flood. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, this is me having not played in a minute, so
insane. I haven't played
I just
Copper
kind of out of a glance, it doesn't seem good. But if it's a good, then cool.
for sure. Yeah, right. So, um, man, we really haven't heard a lot from Seth. Do you have any thoughts on this particular match?
I'm just glad to see lots of varied decks. I mean, even just last season with the Demon Seed, you remember how shoehorned everybody was into a couple of lineups. I'm glad to see a lot of experimentation and different decks. That always makes me happy to see.
And that's like the big thing I've seen in general, and like with THL at least, like you see a lot of very interesting things brought.
Yeah,
Like the big thing last season, like Tagger specifically, he
it's
brought some very
the Battle
interesting
Tagger
stuff.
lineup.
Battle Tagger lineups, classic.
Yeah,
Hazer usually brought some unique stuff. Like we tried to
yeah,
like mix it up a little bit every once in a while. That's the cool thing is like you can use this kind of as like a playground
yeah,
instead of playing on ladder. You can kind of use this and say, all right, does this deck actually like work in a controlled environment? And
yeah.
like you see a lot of like really cool kind of inclusions that you wouldn't expect normally. So I don't know.
Perf-
It's very cool to see,
yeah,
especially a lot of the changes and stuff that's going on since I've left.
definitely. And I know Bitbaker's like he particularly kind of feels at home on like off meta decks. He's very he loves playing like he's brought obviously Odd Hunter Pirate Warrior, but and I think Reno Shaman's like can be it's definitely kind of a THL meta deck.
Mm-hmm.
But the Reno Demon Hunter's like more of a Bitbeaker special, I would say, for sure. Um yeah, I mean super exciting match. It's cool to see Mr. Luke playing in the NA series as because
Yep.
he was a standout performer in
He did very well. I was
EU.
so yeah, so when I actually like picked him up to play on the EU team, he was kind of just like starting around. He played in West versus CN. He didn't do too hot. I'm like, here, Luke, I got you. Why not try out a season of like, since you didn't do hot, let's get you on my team. Try you out. We'll see how it goes. And he did
Yeah,
very well in EU, and I'm proud of him. So
yeah,
I'm
for
happy to
sure.
have him on board for probably a week or two. Um,
Yeah,
And yeah, hopefully he can play more NA. I wish I had the spot open, or 6 people on the roster, so
For sure.
I'd get him in
I
instantly
mean,
when Tom comes back. But
yeah, if he plays, if he plays well here, like I'm sure teams will be wanting if teams needing
they'll
subs.
probably be interested because
Yeah,
he's very good. So I'm happy to have him
definitely.
in this week. I appreciate him able to step in. So
Definitely. So, we don't really have much more else to cover. We have our question of the week, which I will pull up now. The question of the week is, for this week, is Aggro Paladin here to stay? So that would be like Aggro Tax Pally with Drekthar and all those types of stuff. It's just kind of been in and out. But do we think that it's a deck that's going to be around, for a while here?
it would depend on if combo stays very prevalent. If that becomes like the main thing, I mean, on ladder, it's not a good choice. It dies to a lot of stuff. Just speaking off of like what it's done in the past,
Mm-hmm.
and even like the upgrades it got, I still don't think it's a good ladder deck. In a controlled environment, if you have the target, I mean, you can go for it, but it's really risky. So
Yeah,
you have to have the lineup. Like you have to like be able to target someone. I
for
would say.
sure.
If you're just bringing it willy nilly and like, oh, my opponent's brought decks, I just want to bring this deck, you're not going to have a good time. You
Yeah.
have to be very specific. So yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Seth, what do you think?
I like Aggro Paladin. I think the Call to Arms package always makes you keep an eye on it, and the tax package works well right now for all the combo. So I really think it's got some legs, which I even brought it myself this week, and it didn't pan out for me, but I attribute that to lack of experience with drawing Call to Arms on 4. So
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't around for the first iteration of Aggro Paladin, so I'm trying to develop that skill right now, but I
It's
like Aggro Paladin a lot.
did you try to draw better?
I did, but it didn't
Yeah.
work, and I lost 1-3. So I'm gonna
That's
try
probably
again
why
next
you.
week.
That's probably why you lost though. You just didn't draw better. You gotta try to draw
Yeah,
better
I'm gonna
next time.
try again next week. Let's see if I
Yeah.
can't get better draw.
Yeah, draw Call to
Yeah,
Arms
I
on
feel the
4. Easy.
I feel the same at times.
If you don't draw Call to Arms on 4, GG go next. Like that simple.
Coining coining bridge on 3 into Call to Arms feels extra though.
You should try doing that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's nutty.
Yeah, but you lost, so you didn't do it. So try drawing it next time, okay?
Thanks for the helpful advice.
Of course, anything for you.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I don't really foresee the combo. I don't really foresee any combo decks being specifically nerfed for Wild. So I think that it'll have its spot. But I agree with Sunday. It will show up more in lineups that are trying to target specific decks, like Odd Hunter or. I mean, Ignite Mage is extremely hard to target, but if you really want to try, it's probably not terrible into it. I think it'll have its niche. I don't think it'll be rampant in the series at all, but it can get the job done if you really need it. I think that's my thoughts on the deck. I don't really have that much experience playing it. I guess that's it for the show for this week. We have after this we have Thursday Throwdown starting in about 20 minutes or so. There'll be 2 matches there, and that's already announced in the Discord and under the events. So if you want to watch that, stick around. Obviously, I want to thank Sunday and Seth for coming on the show. Sunday coming in on late notice. For our friend Marty B. We should be back next week with another episode. Yeah. I'll let you guys give out some last thoughts, and then I'll go ahead and close the show.
Yeah, but before I leave, I'm trying to figure out a question I've had on my mind for a while.
Sure.
Yeah, which noob lost to Hero Power Mage? Where's he at? Can the real noob please stand up?
Which noob lost to Hero Power Mage? Oh man.
But yeah, no. Thanks for having me on. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Oh, I found him. He's in chat. Hi, Triple Lift.
What's up,
Good
Triple
job.
Lift? Hyper in Triple Lift. All right. So we'll see you all next week. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Bye bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.